Look around your life for a second. There's a guitar you bought 3 years ago, a half-finished online course in graphic design, a bookshelf with books on psychology, economics, cooking, and ancient history, a notebook full of business ideas you never launched. Maybe you even started learning a new language last spring and quietly dropped it by summer. And every time someone asks you, "So what do you do?" you feel a strange kind of panic, because the honest answer is everything and nothing, and you can't figure out if that's your superpower or your biggest problem. Society has a word for you. They call you unfocused, scattered, commitment-phobic. They tell you to pick one thing, master it, and stop wasting your time collecting hobbies like stray cats, and for a long time you believe them. But psychology says something completely different. It says your brain isn't broken. It's building something rare, something that most specialists will never have. It's called the M-shaped mind. And in the world that's coming, not in 50 years right now, it might be the most valuable cognitive architecture on Earth. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from. And if you love psychology content that actually explains you, check out the newsletter linked in the description. Here's what nobody tells you about the world we're living in. For most of the last century, success looked like an I-1 skill dug 1 mile deep. You picked a lane, doctor, accountant, engineer, and you stayed in it for 40 years. The rules of the game never changed. It was what psychologists call a kind learning environment. Practice the same thing long enough and you win. But you don't live in that world anymore. The modern economy is what researchers call a wicked environment. The rules change constantly. Industries that existed 10 years ago are disappearing. Skills that took a decade to master are being automated in months. And in a wicked environment, the specialist is the most fragile person in the room, because when their one lane closes, they have nowhere to go. Your brain already knows this. That's why it keeps pulling you in new directions. It's not distraction, it's defense. Now here's where the psychology gets genuinely fascinating. When you spend time across completely unrelated fields, say, learning music and coding and studying human behavior, your brain starts doing something called far transfer. Most people use near transfer. They take a problem they've seen before and solve it with the tools they already have. But far transfer is different. You pull a concept from one world and inject it into another. That's where real innovation lives. Think about the data analyst who spent years as a jazz musician. On paper, those things share nothing. But that musician's understanding of improvisation, of reading a room, of knowing when to lead and when to follow, that's not wasted. That's a cognitive edge that no purely technical analyst will ever have. You aren't behind. You are cross-training your brain in ways that specialists are completely blind to. But here's the trap that catches almost every multi-passionate person, and this is the part that actually matters. You cannot build all your pillars at the same time. If you try to master photography, launch a business, learn Spanish, and write a book simultaneously, you won't build the M, you'll just build chaos. The people who successfully turn their scattered interests into an actual identity, the true polymaths, they don't do everything at once. They practice what psychologists call serial mastery. They live in seasons. One season, they go deep on creative work. The next, they build financial stability through a technical skill. The season after that, they merge the two into something nobody has ever seen before. They aren't abandoning their interests. They're constructing them, one pillar at a time, connected by a single bridge, their curiosity. That's the M-shape. Multiple pillars of depth built sequentially, unified by who you are. And here's the final piece that makes all of this matter beyond just career strategy. Biologists have a concept called redundancy. In nature, redundancy isn't waste, it's survival. Elephants have multiple copies of cancer-suppressing genes. If one fails, another activates. That's why they almost never get cancer. Your diverse skill set is your redundancy. The person who only knows one thing is completely exposed when that one thing disappears. But if you can write and understand technology and read people and build things, no single disruption can take you out. You always have a pivot ready. You are, by design, unbreakable. So the next time someone asks you to just pick one thing, remember this. You were never meant to be one thing. You were built to be the bridge between worlds that most people don't even know exist. Every interest you've ever had wasn't a detour. It was construction. The M-shaped future is coming, and you've been preparing for it your whole life without even knowing it. Drop a comment if this hit home. Tell me which of your random interests you think is actually your hidden advantage. And if you want the deep dive on how to structure your seasons of mastery, subscribe and check out the newsletter in the description.